Hi everyone, welcome to Inderes TV. Today I'm pleased to be here with the CEO of Mendus, Erik Manting. Welcome, Erik.
Hey Jesper, good to see you.
So today Inderes released the first report on Mendus. Go check it out. It's available on inderes.se. But I'm thinking we can start this interview in a little bit broader perspective. So what are the long-term ambition and goals for Mendus?
Well, I think the key word here was relevance, Jesper. And on the one hand, we want to be relevant for cancer patients. So cancer today is still suffering from a phenomenon called disease recurrence or relapse. Actually, most cancer patients die from recurrence, so not the first treatment, but actually from the cancer that comes back and which is then very difficult to treat. So that is where we feel we can be relevant by developing products that are safe, which is important for patients that have already undergone first-line treatment, but also products that have a long-lasting effect that controls the disease. So we work with active immunity, which means we boost the immune system of the patient to have longer-term control over the residual cancer cells, which would otherwise cause the recurrence of the disease. So relevance for patients. And also as a company, we want to be relevant. So we are always looking for ways to position ourselves versus where the medical need is, but also versus the competitive landscape, to continue to evolve as a company which is meaningful for all stakeholders, for patients, but also for our investors.
Yeah. What have been the most important developments that have led to where Mendus is currently?
Well, it started with bringing two companies together in 2020. Actually, beginning 2021, we effectuated the merger between a company called DC Prime in Holland and Immunicum in Sweden. And the reason to do the merger was that both companies were on a specific track related to dendritic cell biology. And dendritic cells have an important role in the immune system, but how you can translate that into potential therapeutic approaches, that's a whole different story. And we were working on a complementary basis in two different companies. So step one was to bring those companies together. Okay. And now today we have our headquarters in Stockholm. We're listed on Nasdaq Stockholm Stock Exchange. But we have also very capable research facilities, specialized research facilities in the Netherlands, in Leiden, where we work both with research, but also, for example, the process development of our manufacturing system. So that was an important and big step in the formation of Mendus as a company. So we are now operating under the new name Mendus in both Sweden and the Netherlands. And the other important development was how we would position ourselves in a very competitive cancer therapy landscape. And we took some rather radical choices early on. Also after the merger, we stopped a few programs that were basically guiding us in a direction where we felt we would be stuck at a certain point. And we looked for new ways to position our products. And we've done that for vividencel, which is our lead product, by going into blood-borne tumors where immunotherapies have failed until today and are currently not available. So that was a high unmet medical need, but also, of course, a bit of a challenge to go in that direction where others were not going. And secondly, we have a product called vividencel, which was originally from Immunicum AB. And that product was developed in renal cell carcinoma, which is a rather large indication. But the effect size we saw was too small. And certainly to progress into late-stage development, it was simply not something we as a company could do. So first of all, we looked at the long-term data from that trial, and also the data confirmed that actually the effect of the drug we saw was not big enough. But we had to find at the same time a new positioning. So also there we have now decided to go into soft tissue sarcomas, which is a kind of indication which is also very poorly responding to current available therapies. So I think in a nutshell, this is where we are today with two lead programs in the clinic, but also with a deeper pipeline of research programs, and I think a very capable lab in terms of research and process development activities.
Cool. And if you go into more recent news, you're starting a trial now called CADENCE. What is that about?
Well, the CADENCE trial is a trial that we set up with the Australasian Leukemia and Lymphoma Group, and it's a sizable trial, which makes it very relevant. But the trial is also relevant for additional reasons. First of all, what you want to do if you develop a new therapy is to deliver monotherapy data. That's always the strongest starting point. And the phase 2 trial, which is currently ongoing, the Advance 2 trial, for which we reported positive data, is a monotherapy trial, which means that we only test our drug in patients that otherwise would not have treatment options. That was a successful trial. So that's a very important step and almost unique in the current cancer landscape to be able to do such a trial. But it also emphasizes the high unmet medical need for new maintenance treatments in AML. What CADENCE does, it is allowing us to work together with the Australasian Leukemia and Lymphoma Group, which is a very sizable and very capable group in doing studies with blood-borne tumors. And they are also working with over 30 centers in Australia, New Zealand, and a number of Asian countries. So it's also a very important expansion of our network with clinical trials. So currently we have the ongoing trial in Europe. We also opened up the IND, so we have the possibility to also start trials in the US. And now we are also expanding our global network in Australia with ALLG, so the Australasian Leukemia and Lymphoma Group. So that is all around the CADENCE trial.
Yeah. What is the rationale for combining vividencel with the standard of care in CADENCE?
Yeah, so we combine vividencel with a drug called oral azacitidine. And what happened during our monotherapy trial, so the current trial, which is called ADVANCE-2, is that a large pharma company called BMS got approval for the first AML maintenance treatment. And that is an oral formulation, so a tablet of an existing chemotherapy called azacitidine. And it has an effect. It has an effect large enough to be approved for this indication. The effect, however, is only a few months survival benefit for AML patients. And still, all the patients in the end relapse and also pass away relatively quickly after the relapse. So the high unmet medical need is still there, but once there is a drug established as standard of care, it's always wise to combine with it. Or you have to choose very early on that you go against it, but we don't see any reason why we should not combine with oral azacitidine. And also there's ample evidence, actually, when you look into azacitidine, which has a rather long history as a drug, that azacitidine works very well with immunotherapies. And we are developing vividencel as an immunotherapy. So also from a medical scientific perspective, the combination is a rational one. And therefore, we will now first take a larger step with ALLG in the CADENCE trial, which is a trial up to 140 patients in combination with oral azacitidine, but also for a registration trial that should be a logical combination.
Yeah. You mentioned ALLG, you're working with that organization. What is the significance of this collaboration for the CADENCE trial?
Well, the most important part is, first of all, it's a very established group, not only the group as a whole, but also specifically Andrew Wei, the key opinion leader and the principal investigator of the trial, is a very respected global a key opinion leader in AML. So we are working with a very high quality group of clinical centers and a well-established organization. But like I said, also we are preparing in parallel for a global registration strategy. And that's a combination of making sure we have large-scale manufacturing of the product, that we have a registration trial, that we have also checked with the regulatory agencies. But also you have to build up a global network of clinical centers to work with you on such a global trial. And that is the other part of ALLG. It also allows us to expand our geographical presence towards the Australasian region.
You're building readiness for a pivotal trial. What does this preparation include exactly, and when could the trial begin in an optimistic scenario?
Well, everything has to come together, and we have put everything in place following the financing round we did last year. Last year in June, we announced the financing round. We also announced a large-scale manufacturing collaboration with a company called NorthX Biologics, which are based here in Sweden. And that was a very important step, because to keep up with late-stage development and in the end also commercial launch and marketing of your product, you have to have large-scale manufacturing. So the fact that we could start that collaboration immediately following the financing round, and which is now on track, was for us a very important step. There's two steps actually. One we just completed, which is the building of the facility, the manufacturing facility, and the initial training of the teams on both sides. And what we have now started is called the so-called tech transfer, where we transfer the process from our facilities at Mendus, which is non-GMP, so it's not a factory that allows us to manufacture product for clinical use. And then you have to transfer it to NorthX, who do have the facility now to make GMP product. Now that process takes roughly 12 to 18 months. Okay. So we should be ready by mid next year to make the first batches of large-scale GMP material which we need for the trial. In parallel, we will prepare for the registration trial protocol and also seek continuous interaction with the regulators, so with the EMA in Europe and the FDA in the US, to make sure that the protocol is in good shape. And that should all come together mid-25. Okay.
Since we at Inderes last talked to you, we got some positive news regarding just the financial for the future. Cash runway until Q3 25 now, I think. What can you achieve with the secure founding?
Well, the exercise of the warrants, which was supported by all of our large shareholders, as well as the management team and the board, but everything came together in that last bit of the financing that was associated with last year's, so the June 2023 financing round. The warrants added an additional 69 million Swedish krona to our balance sheet. That takes us to mid-25, so to Q3 25. And so that's the plan coming together. So we now have the manufacturing alliance, we're preparing for the pivotal stage trial, the CADENCE trial is starting up as we speak, and we have now financing to cover that period. And then in the meantime, obviously, we have to prepare for that registration trial, either by ourselves or in a partnership.
And just the last one here. In addition to vividencel for the AML, what should investors know about your other development programs?
Well, like I said, we brought together the two companies also with the other program, which is called the CADENCE, which is an intratumoral primer, very different concept, based on the same biological and medical scientific principles. That is a program that we will bring back into the clinic, right? After, let's say, the repositioning of the product, and we also had to improve some of the manufacturing steps. We are now in the position to start up a new clinical trial. So that is one thing to look out for. We will announce as soon as we can the details of that next clinical trial. We're also developing an ovarian cancer program with vividencel. So it's a phase 1 trial, which is ongoing, and for which we expect the primary readout, so the most important readout of the trial in the second half of this year. Depending on the readout, it will position us in ovarian cancer, or we have to re-evaluate how we move forward in ovarian cancer. So that's an exciting moment in the second half of this year. And then we have the deeper pipeline, which is based on our ongoing research, and that includes an NK cell program, which we believe is also putting us in a very competitive position in the broader NK cell field. So that's the deeper pipeline filling that we will also continue to do with our research in Leiden.
Okay, cool. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks, Jesper.